Welcome everyone to discussion roundtable number 2. Today we're with the men's virtual elite athlete field for the 2020 Fleet Feet Liberty Mile. Today we're talking with 4 guys who have some pretty strong experience, not only road racing and in the mile, but racing the streets of Pittsburgh over their professional running careers. As we were yesterday, I'm joined with Bob Shooer, Fleet Feet Pittsburgh. They are the title sponsor of the Fleet Feet Liberty Mile, and we are so grateful for Bob and his team and the support that they not only give this event, but other P3R events and the local running community in Pittsburgh. So Bob, thanks again for being here today.
Thank you. We love being part of this event and all the P3R events. Thanks, Ryan. It really is an honor to be part of this, and we will certainly miss the in-person version of the Fleet Feet Liberty Mile this year. Every year we welcome members of the pro athlete field to our store here in the South Hills. I know Ben has been here several times over the years, and it's been a tradition for a while. But I am glad that we're able to get together in this forum if we're not able to get together to be with each other in person. We'll do a few quick intros and then we'll launch into our discussion. So I'll kick it off. First, we are joined by Kyle Merber. Welcome, Kyle. Though he has only run the Fleet Feet Liberty Mile once, he did make a big splash in the Steel City, finishing in second place in 2017. He is an incredibly accomplished miler and even directs his own meet, the Hoka 1-1 Long Island Mile. So welcome, Kyle. It's nice having you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, Kyle, we're stoked you're here. And I used the word you made a splash in Pittsburgh because it reminded me of a story that you might want to tell later about what happened after your race in Pittsburgh. So that was it was a sly little thing, but no one seemed to notice it, so I had to call it out. So next we're excited to welcome 2-time Fleet Feet Liberty Mile champion Ben Blankenship. Ben won the event in 2016 and 2017. And he's really established a name for himself in the Pittsburgh running community. I've definitely noticed Ben getting quite the following. And, you know, of course, Ben is a U.S. Olympian at 1,500 meters and was 8th in that event in Rio. So, Ben, everyone was surprised that you got your internet working, but we're so excited that you're here today.
Glad we didn't have too many problems.
And then next up, we have Riley Masters. Riley's run 3 times in Pittsburgh with us. So he's become quite the familiar face on the streets of the Steel City. Today, joining us from his home in Boulder, Colorado, though he is originally from Maine and holds the state mile record there. So that's a fun fact for Riley. Riley, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And finally, we welcome Robert Domanic to our call. Robert ran the Liberty Mile in 2018 as one of his first post-collegiate events, and he won it that year. He also won last year, making him a 2-time champion. We hoped he would be defending himself here this year, but of course the safety of everyone is paramount. Robert is a dominant force in middle distance, and we are so excited to have him on the call today, and we were really excited to have him here in Pittsburgh for 2 years. So welcome, Robert.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You know, something that I think talked to Ben about the other day, but since 2014, we've had pairs of champions in the men's race. So Jordan McNamara in 2014 and 15, then Ben Range for 2 years, and now Robert for 2 years, although that'll now have to wait another year to see if he can defend. But I just thought that was interesting, so wanted to throw that out there. So, you know, our first question and we'll go around, we'll try to go in the same order every time, so we don't talk over each other too much. But if we want to, let me call the order out right now. We'll do Riley, Ben, Robert, and then Kyle. to wrap it up. So we're going to ask the same question of everyone, and we just want to talk about track, Pittsburgh, and of course the Liberty Mile. So, between the four of you, I think there's 9 years of Liberty Mile experience. What about this event in particular keeps you either putting it on your schedule every year or, put it on the schedule in the first place?
So I'm kicking this off.
Yeah, roll with it.
Admittedly, I was a little apprehensive. The first time my agent told me I was going to Pittsburgh for a race, I thought Steel City and Cole and I don't know. But I was pleasantly surprised the first time I drove through the tunnel and saw downtown Pittsburgh. I think that obviously the P3R does a great job putting the event on, and I've just always had a good time in Pittsburgh. It's a great place to run, especially the little waterfront that we stay on. So I've enjoyed coming back each year. Although I went second, third, fourth the last 3 years. So I was kind of going backwards there. So I might've had to skip this year.
It worked out in your favor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben?
Let's see. I've run it 3 times. I like road miles. It's kind of nice to get off the track, especially when we're in the heart of the track season, kind of do something different. The races have kind of fallen all over the place in terms of date. Post championships, before championships. And it's always been a great event to kind of put on the calendar as okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to kind of go to Europe. It's like this great little pit stop right in the middle of kind of training or getting ready to go race. So I've always kind of liked that. It's a good blend of kind of strength and speed, but it's always kind of fit nicely on the calendar.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Great event.
Thanks, Ben.
And I like being Kyle, so that's always a positive.
Unbelievable.
All right, next we'll go Robert. He's 2 for 2 in Pittsburgh, so
A lot of pressure now. I appreciate you throwing out that 2-time and done stat. But so this was my first race out of college, and I think the thing that drove me the most was my coach said, you win, you get $5,000. So it was the purse was pretty good. And coming out of college, I didn't really have 2 nickels to rub together because I just spent all my money like an idiot. But I think the money was definitely what brought me here, and what brought me back was like what Riley said. It's just the view coming out of the tunnel is incredible, and just staying where we do is sweet. And so I enjoyed it, and I definitely come back again.
awesome. And last but not least, Mr. Merber.
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to put it on my calendar after watching Jordan win it a couple times and just seeing the crowd, down that final stretch, and, seeing the pictures of him with the flag and, shaking hands, kissing babies. And I just thought, after in 2017, after USA's, it's such a fun thing to get involved in the community events and get out there and, be one with the people. And so for me, that was really the big intrigue. And then, of course, is the food scene in the casino for the after party. So it's also a good time.
You kind of answering what Bob's about to ask, but that's, yeah, I remember that.
Exactly. Yeah, so here's what I'm going to ask, and you've sort of answered it already. Some people watching this have never, ever been to Pittsburgh before. In fact, some of you had never been to Pittsburgh prior to running the Fleet Feet Liberty Mile. So what is one thing that really surprised you about Pittsburgh, or something that you really loved about Pittsburgh?
Amanthi Bros. That's what it's called, right?
Permane, yep.
Yeah, Permane Bros. That's probably that was the staple. That's what I think we went there as the sun was coming up one year. So I don't necessarily recommend going at that hour, but certainly a good establishment, worth going to Pittsburgh for.
I agree with that. Ben?
I think one of it is, I mean, the atmosphere was great in terms of the running, and I think actually I've done a long run the morning after the race, and shockingly from downtown Pittsburgh, you have pretty good running, kind of right out the hotel door, and I think that's a little unusual for kind of a big downtown that's kind of encircled by water. To kind of walk out the hotel door and have kind of a few trail options is pretty awesome. So I think that's kind of a nice little gem.
Yeah, I was saying yesterday on the call that we hosted the Fleet Feet National Conference here in 2015, and that comment was the one that we heard from most of the owners and participants at the conference, is that they stepped out of the hotel and then there were so many different options they had for running. So,
no, I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
Robert, we're doing the same order every time.
All right.
We'll get it. We'll figure this out.
When Ben's done, that's your cue.
I mean, I don't want to repeat too much, but yeah, just like the tunnel once again, like I was pleasantly surprised. And yeah, just the view you get. Like the first time I went there in 2018, we stayed, I don't remember what hotel was, but it was right on the river. So you got a nice view of like Heinz Field and all that stuff. So I think just like people would be surprised at the scenery you get to see in Pittsburgh. It's not like that steel city that everybody thinks anymore. It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of like a hobbyist when it comes to urban planning, and I thought it's been really cool to see Pittsburgh kind of revitalize itself as, a Rust Belt city. I think they've done a really good job, and it shows just when you're walking around how they've repurposed buildings and, the markets and the way that they've used old factory buildings to turn them into really cool spaces. So just from like a straight cultural standpoint, I thought that was really a cool thing to see, because I'd heard that it had been doing really well. And it's obvious that, it's a cool place to be young and live in the city. And the food scene, as I said a little, was really impressive. And I don't know, I just thought it had some really good vibes about it. And I can appreciate a place where people are really, really proud of where they're from. So, yeah, thought it was nothing but good vibes.
So cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, something unique about the Liberty Mile, not only is it on the streets, but it's on the streets at night, which is not super common. But Kyle, I remember specifically, you talk about the food scene. I remember you texted me before the athlete meeting, and you said, I ate Pamela's. Was that a bad choice? And it was race day. And I was like, it depends what you got, but yeah, probably.
Yeah, that place was really good.
Really good.
That whole section was unbelievably cool. It's the Italian market, right? That's what it's called over there. Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was like on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx or something. Just, it was really tempting to destroy your race for a few good meals.
Yeah. Well, hey, you still got second, but you did eat Pamela's.
Second.
So who really won?
Right. So shifting gears just a little bit. So obviously this is just, the strangest time of everybody's life, I would say. I think that's safe to say. And I think we've all kind of had to adapt with the times and make some changes. So I'm just curious, whether it be life or running, is there something new that you've introduced into either your running routine or your life routine, since March that you think is going to stick?
How about those 100-mile weeks, Kyle?
Yeah.
I go fourth.
Let's see. I tried this new thing. Been reading books. I think I might stick with it. It's been going well. I feel good about myself. I don't necessarily enjoy it in the moment, but when I finish a book, I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. So maybe I'll stick with the reading thing. You guys should maybe try it. Kyle, you got a couple of books behind you.
Yeah, Kyle's got it down.
You're just decorative.
Yeah. That's what mine were for too, but if you pick them up, there's stuff inside them.
Ben?
I'm thinking about mine. I'm a little bit like Kyle, not to jump on that bandwagon. Running a little bit, doing that. It's been interesting. And just kind of going back to like classic college, kind of like ad hoc American cross country style, where you're kind of working out all the time and kind of doing over distance, over volume, and kind of doing some leg turnover. Started doing strides once in a while for the first time in my life. I don't know if I'll stick with that. I might cut those out. But yeah, I don't think much has changed, shockingly, other than like not racing. Not much has changed. I'm just in kind of bigger blocks and kind of just, cutting everything back a little bit in terms of, okay, do 8-week block to another 8-week block. But besides that, not much has really changed. Wish I had something exciting to say.
That's exciting. It's more mileage than I could run.
Something new in my life is since I got injured and took a bit of March and all of April off, I found it a good time to get myself a dog.
Nice.
And
Are you gonna keep it?
Yeah, you're gonna stay with
I'm gonna keep it if it behaves. But right now it's at the stage where it excite peas a lot. So I'm thinking about just kind of ditching it, kind of cleaning up after it. But I got a Vizsla, and he's been going on runs with me more than he's supposed to. I mean, he went on an 11-mile run with me a couple weeks ago, which probably isn't too healthy for a 6-month-old, but it's been good. It's been healthy for me. It's got me out of the house. I was one of those runners that just sat around playing video games all day. So now I've cut it down a bit, and it's making me live a little bit healthier of a lifestyle, to be honest.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess it was touched on a little, but I bumped my mileage because I was bored, and I figured with no races on the schedule, it was time to try something new and take a risk. And I don't know what the situation will be this summer with races at all. So I think at the very least, it's a long-term investment in the future, and I think it's paying off, but I guess we'll see. And then I'm in the middle of bottling my first ever homebrew. I should have probably scheduled things a little bit differently for this call, but I don't know if it's good or not yet, and I'll know in like a week or two. And if it comes out well, I'll stick with it. If not, I'll sell it on Craigslist, all the gear.
That's awesome. What kind did you brew the first round?
I'm doing a pale ale right now.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I did an IPA last winter, and yeah, I'm not doing that next time.
That start easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. So no, pale ale. That's good.
So obviously we were all looking forward to welcoming you guys back to Pittsburgh this week. But with everything that's going on in the world right now, what are you doing to stay motivated so that when you're able to be at a race in person again, you're able to perform well? Like, what's motivating you? I think Robert's dog is motivating him. But anything in particular that's really driving you right now?
It's tough going first. I feel like I don't get a lot of time to think about it. So this year's been a little tough for me as I started the year with a stress fracture, and then shortly after getting back to running, I had surgery on my Achilles. So it's obviously been difficult for everyone to stay motivated, but me in particular, I feel like I can't even get out there and put in those big blocks or even train. Mm-hmm. So the thing that's motivating me is just knowing that things will open up again and there'll be races at some point. But yeah, I can't really pinpoint anything besides maybe the scale that's keeping me too motivated, but just trying not to get too out of shape while I'm over here not moving around very much. But I just got cleared or I guess a couple weeks ago, cleared to bike. So I've been on the stationary bike here quite a bit. So maybe I'll get a Peloton or something like that and start crushing some people on there.
I'm pretty sure they're back ordered till like December.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah. They are.
But you should. I feel like there's plenty of them on Craigslist in Boulder. If there's a place for Pelotons to be on Craigslist, they would be there.
Yeah.
I've not struggled too much with motivation. I kind of like these long blocks training. I kind of find myself at home in them. Kind of have little check-ins, maybe, every 6 weeks or something, just to make sure there's like some focal point. I don't get overly distracted by mileage or tempos or, kind of turning over the legs. I think my big thing is like, for an athlete, maybe in my position, having been out of college for a long time, have kind of gone through a whole Olympic cycle, you find yourself in this teeter point where, you would have had 2020, 2021, and then you would have reevaluated, right? And I think with this built-in break where you can take a step back and you can kind of evaluate what you did well for 4 years, what you didn't do well for 4 years, you have this chance to kind of figure those things out and maybe rest or maybe kind of recover to some degree. And I think for me, it's worked really well to kind of ease my way back in and say, okay, not only do we have 2021, cross our fingers, but we also have this chance to do another whole cycle, another whole 4 years. And I think for me, that's more motivating than, when's my next race. It's kind of building into this four-year block where you didn't go from a late world champs in October to a world champs right around the corner. It's this chance to kind of take a deep breath, get your legs back under you, and get ready for another period of time. Maybe you would have had that coming out of college if you didn't make the team. It's like, okay, went through the NCAA system, take this deep breath, get ready for another 4 years. But for me, it's like, what would you have given up? I don't want to give up anything. I'm too competitive to give up anything. I'll just keep hammering it out. So not missing anything, taking the step back and being like, okay, how do we reevaluate for 4 years? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Very cool. Thank you.
For me, it's like Riley, I've been injured most of spring, so I'm just excited to be running, to be honest. It's one of those things too where when you are injured, you watch your teammates work out twice a week and they're working out well, and you're just kind of jealous that you're not there with them. So it was nice motivation when I was hurt to see those workouts and just keep focused. But yeah, I'm just excited to get in a big block of training and yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I would say in many ways I'm not that motivated right now. It's just kind of coming from a place of moral obligation. Like as runners, we wake up every day and we go for a run, and my competitive switch is definitely off right now. It's actually nice to see these guys and not trying to, think about how I'm going to beat them. It's just, we're running because it's fun. And when the time and opportunity kind of presents itself to turn it on again and really, get the juices flowing, then I'll be ready. But on a day-to-day basis, the motivation is just a little bit different because it's just a sense of normalcy that running brings and just enjoying the process of day in and day out doing it. But it's not like the same, I'm not bringing the same killer attitude to every single workout with the idea that there's a race in a couple of weeks. So it is a different mindset for sure, but I think it's sustainable given the circumstances.
And that in itself could be motivating. So that's very cool. Yeah. So while I have the four of you, I own a running store, so I would be remiss in not asking you, what are you training in these days? What shoe are you guys training in?
I'm a big fan of the Vomero. I know I sold Ben's, but every model of Vomero I've been a huge fan of. So That's it. Yeah. I do use it for everything except for like specific track sessions, but yeah, perfect shoe.
Awesome shoe. Yep. I actually worked in this store way back when the first version of the Vomero came out. And we got it in. It was revolutionary because it had that Zoom Air in the forefoot. I don't think it had it in the heel back then, but it had that Zoom Air unit, and that in itself was revolutionary. And it's been a fantastic shoe.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Well, I'll switch my answer. I love the Vomero. I'm a diehard Vomero guy since kind of high school. from the first iterations that you were talking about. But I find myself in like almost like a PEG turbo often, just for like even light workouts where we're running like Ks, long tempos. It's kind of a nice all-around shoe that I find myself kind of bouncing in. You know, it's supportive, but it's responsive, but it gives you a little bit of durability. I like it. I like it for a lot of options. And I think it's an all-around great shoe. If I was like a coach of a high school team, I'd be like, you can get a PEG and do literally everything in except race. So that's a guy coming from, you know, a background that I had one pair of spikes my entire high school career.
Very cool.
Unlike Merber, who had like one spike every race.
Yeah.
All shiny.
I would want to like push back on that, but I was a spike collector. I had everything. I had 30 plus pairs. I was on die stat, wheeling and dealing.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
Right now, I'd say my favorite is the Forever Energies. So right now we're just getting back into the running game, Reebok as a company. So we're having to try out a whole bunch of different shoes all at once. But yeah, the Energies are nice. And it's one of those shoes where in college for workouts, you'd always switch into flats. What are there? The Streaks, because we were in Nike school, or the Streak LTs. But the Energies are nice because it allows us to kind of, not in my case, just because I've been kind of unlucky, but we can do tempo runs and mile work in trainers and not have to switch in a lighter shoe and still hit the times we need to. So yeah, the Energies are nice shoes.
Cool.
Yeah, so being sponsored by Hoka and since 2014, I've always been obsessed with the Cliftons. It's, you know, the first shoe that I'll recommend anyone to try. I think it's one of the most versatile trainers out there. And it's something that I think almost anyone could try on no matter what your gait is and, you know, get a good ride out of it. So the Clifton 7s are supposed to arrive at my door any day now. So I'm pumped to try those, but I've really enjoyed the 6th version.
Yep, we should be getting our shipment tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, I'm waiting for UPS to show up today. I think he's on his way.
Awesome.
All right, so last question before we move into our kind of rapid fire little game we'll play at the end here. And I'll actually answer this one first because I asked Bob his answer yesterday, so I feel like I should give my answer today. But we want to know, what is your favorite specific memory from a Liberty Mile experience in Pittsburgh? So dialing it in a little bit. I guess mine's probably a little bit unspecific, but every year my favorite part of the race, I ride the lead vehicle and commentate, so I'm watching the race, but at the finish, I love watching the fans watch the pros finish. So I don't actually watch the pros finish. I like to watch the fans watch the pros finish. And it's so inspiring. There's no other event that I've ever been a part of where people are running, finishing, and then they become the audience and they're inspired by the top people in the sport. So for me, I get, and the staff get the luxury of having that option to watch the fans and then seeing you guys interact with them after. That's by far my favorite part. But yeah, just go rapid fire here, but specific memory from Liberty.
So in 2016, there was a guy that used to run professionally for Hoka named Ford Palmer. And Ben was on fire, and it looked like he was the favorite for the race. And I had raced Ford a couple times earlier that fall. This race, the 2016 version of Liberty Mile, was in the morning and in the fall. I think it was in September. And Ford had beat me the last 3 times we raced. And I remember going to the line with him. He's just like, hey, man, don't worry. Like, you're running pretty well. It's probably going to be between me and Ben. But, like, you'll probably finish like 3rd or 4th. Don't worry. Like, that's pretty good for you. And I just got so angry. And then there's also, it's part of the Bring Back the Mile series, or Liberty Mile was. And Ford was gunning to try to win the Liberty Mile, do well at the Liberty Mile so he could win the series. And he had this whole elaborate plan about how he's going to finish Liberty Mile, take a 2-week break, and then go to DC and run the finale for the series and score 1 point so we could beat Ben for the overall championship. And so I'm just so fired up when he's telling me all about this plan and explaining how I'm probably going to finish third or fourth. So with like 10 steps in the race, I had shadowed forward the whole race. And then with like 10 steps left, I passed him and Eric Avila to go from fourth to second. And as I'm passing forward, if anyone's familiar with him, he just said, "Riley," in this like deep voice in front of all the fans, and was just very angry. But yeah, so he ended up taking his 2-week break. I kept training, told him I was done, and then flew to DC 2 weeks later and beat him in that race as well to win the whole thing. So that like kind of like last 10 steps of the race, if I hadn't beat him that day, there was no chance I could have beat him in the overall tour. So yeah, that was probably my favorite moment.
That's fantastic.
It's a great moment.
Funny, man. Besides beating Kyle, my favorite moment was probably, and I can't remember which year it was, but I roomed with Pat Casey, and I had to fly in the night of the race, and I don't know why. I think I was coming from Europe. Pat and I were both coming from Europe, and I was delayed for some reason. I was taking a boat, the Mayflower, and I got in like the night of, and I think it was the morning one. And it was like, I got there and it was like the turnaround was like 16 hours or something. And I have no idea why I did that to myself. And Pat was like, "You're an idiot." And I was like, all right, well, this is going to go grand. And everything worked out. So I don't know why I did that to myself, but I think that was kind of one of my favorite memories besides beating Kyle, for the record, again, besides beating Kyle.
Right.
That was my favorite moment.
That was the year that Pat flew from Iceland, because I picked him up at the airport and he said I flew in from Iceland, and I didn't even know there was a flight to Pittsburgh from Iceland back then. But anyway,
Yeah.
the more you know. Robert.
I don't know. I think it would maybe just like the view once you make the U-turn, and being able to see the finish line and it being so far away, but it's also so close at the same time. And I don't know. I like that about the race where you really have to kind of plan out like where you're going to start moving and stuff, because, you know, there's always people that go a little bit too early because you think with 400 to go, it's really like 150 meters away. But I don't know. I like the finish. I think the finish is incredible, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's not really a moment per se, but just memories, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
After letting Ben win in 2017, then
Very noble.
the people were rooting for me, of course, over Ben.
Of course, you're the people's champ.
And so some high schoolers asked if we could, if they could join us for a cool down. And who was it? Riley, you were there. Ben, were you on this cool down?
I don't know. Yeah.
Colby might have been there,
Thanks for
too.
remembering.
And so anyway, these high schoolers were really funny, and it was an absolute downpour. Like, it was raining like crazy. And I don't know if there was a bet amongst them or if they were just trying to impress us, but they ended up in this storm jumping into the Allegheny River. And, like, I don't think you're supposed to swim in the Allegheny River.
Gutsy. It's gutsy.
And so, like, it flows, right? And it was raining, and this kid, like, takes his shoes off and his shirt and jumps in, and his friend, like, fishes him out. And if their goal was to impress me, it, like, 100% worked. It was, like, they were buzzing afterwards that they got a good laugh from some professional runners, and we were like, these kids are absolutely insane. And so, yeah, just the cool down in the rain afterwards, everyone's in a good mood. I think that's always such a fun part about the summer race series that we do in general, is just after every single meet immediately, it's like whoever won, no one cares. Like, it's like, let's have a good time and, have some laughs together.
I remember that a little differently. I think we played What Are the Odds with the kid too.
Okay.
He brought it up and he was like, "What are the odds that I'll jump in the river?" And we were like, we don't want you to jump in the river. And he was like, 1 and 3. So we did it, and then he lost, and he didn't skip a beat. He was like in stride, took 1 step, and just dove in. And like all we heard was a splash, and we were like, no way. And
Yes,
then
we were
like ledge.
we loved it.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, those kids tell that story all the time, though. So it's a memory for them.
I think this kid's actually a pretty good runner too. He runs for Syracuse.
So I think he's
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
There you go. I remember you guys came back into the athlete hospitality room after, and he stunk terribly. Yeah, I remember that. All right, so we're almost at the end of the road. So we're gonna play a little game. We did this with the ladies. We mixed up the questions a little bit for you guys, but basically, you all know each other at least fairly well from having raced each other a few times. So we're going to do like a little superlative thing. So we're just going to ask a question, and then all we want you to do is write down the name of the person who you think this best describes of the 4 of you on the call. And then we'll do a little 1, 2, 3, and then you can show the camera. So.
All right. So there are virtual races all over these days. They are a great way to bring people together and form community when we can't actually gather in large groups. However, there are no timers at virtual races. So here's the question. Of the 3 of you, who is the most likely to exaggerate their virtual race time a little?
Of the 4 of you. Sorry, I wrote
4 of you, I'm sorry.
That's my bad. Blankenship's grinning.
I should have.
He had an answer like immediately.
All right, go for it.
Yeah.
Riley. Kyle.
Oh,
Ben
wow.
says Murphy.
Oh,
Everyone says Kyle.
Unanimous, man. That's
Wow. Poor Kyle. I feel like of all of you, Kyle is like definitely the most like out there on the interwebs. Like he doesn't really have a lot of room to hide. You know? Some kid would be like, I see Kyle doing that. Yeah. That was good. Okay, so injuries aside, because I know a couple of you guys are just getting back into the swing of things, but if the 4 of you lined up for a 400 tomorrow, who wins? Who wins a 400? We asked the women
vote for ourselves.
Marathon. What's that?
We vote for ourselves.
Yeah, you can vote for yourself.
Oh, well.
Now we know who you're picking. All right, when you have it, you can show us.
That's funny.
Ben.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Ben's is hard to see.
Mine's Domanic.
Okay.
I got you.
Riley, you think you're winning a 400?
definitely not. I'm in a boot right now.
Even at your best, you're not winning the 400.
Yeah, actually, I'd probably finish last even at my best.
Have you
You're
broken?
on like an elliptigo or something.
What'd you say, Kyle?
Have you broken 150 in an 800?
Yeah. Well, the last time I ran, I ran 149.8, and I called it quits. I haven't run an 8 since.
That's pretty good, man.
It was at the meet that's at the playground in like Massachusetts or whatever it is, like the one that Matt Sonnenfeld puts on.
Adrian Martinez.
There you go.
All right, so the Liberty Mile is special because it takes place in the evening on city streets on a Friday night in downtown Pittsburgh. The post-race atmosphere is one of celebration. In fact, there are beer vouchers attached to every one of the race bibs. Of the three of you, who is most likely to collect the most free beer tickets for the post-race party?
Kyle can't stop
Who
smiling.
writes these questions?
I wrote 3. I'm sorry. I must have. That one was a repeat from the ladies yesterday, so I wrote 3 because there are only 3 of them. Sorry. All right. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Oh, even Rob too.
That is
fantastic.
hard to see for me, but that looked unanimous. Man, well, you've definitely had something to celebrate the
That's
2 years you've been in
fantastic.
Pittsburgh, so that's fair. That's fair. Although we make all the pros rip off their gear check and free beer tags because that's like my pet peeve. If they're in the finish photo and it says like gear check, MQ,
Yeah, free beer.
it's the worst. Yeah, nothing against our beer sponsor, but all right, 2 more. All right, who of the 4 of you is the most likely to talk trash on Let's Run under a fake name? Perhaps you do this. I know I do. No, I'm just kidding. Don't. All right. Let's see him.
I don't use a fake name. Right.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't use a fake name. That's true.
Another one. All Kyle except for.
I represent.
Except for
I post this myself.
Kyle is really taking a beating here.
Yeah. It's called big personality, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. That was good.
All
All right, Bob, you can
We have
serve
one
up the
more.
last.
Here's the last one. Who would be most likely to book their flight to Philadelphia instead of to Pittsburgh?
We joke about this, but we actually did, while you're writing, we did have Dan Herrera last year did this after the race. So he did a double. So he ran in Westchester at the mile, and then they drove. But he booked his return flight from Philly, and it was like the next morning. I was like, dude, it's like a 6-hour drive, like to Philly. Yeah. Anyhow, all right, let's see him.
Hey,
Oh, nice.
Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, you're good on
Oh,
this
shots fired.
Although
Kyle's saving paper.
on flight says a diva.
That was good. That'd be after all the free drinks the night before, Robert. You'd get on the wrong plane. No, I'm just kidding. Well, guys, we really appreciate you taking some time to chat. We're gonna miss Friday night's Liberty Mile. It's a big tradition, obviously, for us in Pittsburgh, and I know on the pro circuit, it's really become a staple the last few years. So thanks for getting on, and I think a lot of the stuff you guys had to say. I mean, I'm even thinking back to what Ben was saying just about just gearing up for this next season in life. I think that's really important and is going to resonate with our runners. So. Yeah, really appreciate it, and looking forward to having all you guys back in 2021. Actually, you all make the Olympics, so maybe 2022. If that sounds good. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks for being with us. This was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.